Hello, I'm delighted to be able to have a conversation now with Ali about his experience of roles and confirmation practices. So, Ali, please will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Helen. Yeah, my name's Ali Miller. I'm a service delivery coach in the northeastern Yorkshire locality with the Stroke Association.
Thank you. And for people who don't know what that means, Ali, what's your role in general? How would you describe your work?
Yeah, so I support and coach two teams of coordinators who support stroke survivors. One team covers the whole of the south of Tyne and Wear area, and the other team covers Durham. So my role is to coach and support the coordinators to basically provide the best support possible, and coach their development and discuss their well-being. So all facets of the role, and hopefully again to make to make their job the best they can to support stroke survivors in the community.
Thank you. And you're one of the first people, certainly that I know of in my work anyway, who is both using roles and confirmation practices with the teams that you support, the teams you've just described, and you're being coached around your own confirmation practices with your line manager. So before we talk a bit more about what that's like being coached and doing your own confirmation practices, let's start with your team. So the roles that we've been working with have been developed from their job description. What was that process like from your experience?
Yeah, really interesting. Uh, Obviously, great support from yourself, Helen, in looking at the actual coordinator role itself and breaking that down into the different roles that a coordinator does from the job description, and actually putting together a really comprehensive guidance document that I could take to the team. So and also what was really beneficial was co-producing two sort of slightly different confirmation practice rules and confirmation practice documents to use with the two teams, as their contracts are
Mhm.
different, so there was nuances there. So the actual process of working together with you was in the resources to have to introduce that was really positive.
We absolutely wrestled with the job description, didn't we, to be able to turn it into a list of roles. And of course, it goes further than traditional job descriptions by talking about what good looks like and what metrics you can use to check that out. And I loved how you then worked with the teams to reflect the different contracts that the teams are under and make it relevant for them. But then, how did you introduce the concept to your team? Because this is quite a different way of working, isn't it?
Yeah, so as it, again, working with yourself, that we there was a development of frequently asked questions, and sort of challenging and hard questions that may be asked by the team. So that was a really good document to take in, and that's specifically like the aspect of the Brené Brown research of clear as kind, because there's nothing like our teams getting that clarity, and the fact that um the they sort of took to the introduction of the confirmations with that clarity, and in the research, as you've produced, is that they were less stressful about that, in the fact that that document gave them that clear understanding of what we were actually going into.
So there are definite benefits of team members being absolutely clear what's expected of them and also what good would look like. Oh, but Ali, I do remember the Zoom call that we had when I was finding all the hardest questions I could ask you about confirmation practices and you doing a sterling job of answering them around roles. But as you said, that also led to us generating a document with the hard questions about roles and confirmation practices, which of course we can share with people if they're interested. So you were prepared, you introduced it to the team. What happened next? How did you get started with using them with individual team members?
Yeah, so um, very much jumping in with the role and confirmation practices document, and those initial sessions, you, you also came in to coach me, which was really important. So it was a test and learn situation, and those early stages, I must admit, there was some trepidation there from myself. Although the resources were really good, you were going into something new, but the coordinators really took to it, and really were able to generate specific actions, and really drill down to those objectives and actions that we could then review. And again, going back to the clarity of the resources. So I think right from the outset, yes, it was we've tweaked things like coaching cards and the ways that we deliver it to different coordinators as we've gone along. But right from the off, we're able to get some really specific smart actions.
Thank you. So the way that we've introduced it together is through one-to-one sessions. And as you've just mentioned, the first time you invited me to actually lead a one-to-one session with one of your colleagues, and we use confirmation practices both so I can demonstrate to you, and we could see it happening live. And the coaching card, you're right, we're now on version 4, aren't we? Because we've been learning how to tweak it and improve it. And I think one of the things about using that card is having it up on the screen, so that when we are coaching, when I'm coaching one of your colleagues, or I'm watching you coach one of your colleagues, everybody can see what questions are going to be asked, and there's no trying to do extra clever coaching questions, because we're just literally almost reading a script. So you saw me do that, and completely no magic in that at all, me just reading the script and seeing the results. What was it like the first time you did it with a colleague, the first time you coached a colleague using roles and confirmation practices?
Yeah, I mean, it was helpful to have the script, but definitely at that early stage, I probably got drawn into like asking more questions, even though I had the script, so it was good. Those early sessions to be there. There was moments when we paused through the session and you came in and almost coached me, and we sort of got back to the script, and it was something that was challenging and maybe a bit different to how I've coached.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but actually the benefits of getting to grips with that script and improving on that really improved how we were able to um, coach use the coaching card with the coordinates to get that specific action and what they really wanted to work on, and also look at how we would both be accountable for that, from a coach and the coordinator undertaking that action, sort of the support that I would give them and how they would take accountability.
And you've been having one-to-ones with your colleagues for quite a long time. Are you noticing any difference in the actions that are coming out from using roles and confirmation practices to what was happening before in your coaching one-to-ones?
Yeah, definitely. Although we, use the sort of SMART acronym
Mm-hmm.
of measurable, achievable, realistic, timely, and specific, I think the actual confirmation practices really drill down to a more specific actions that are then more achievable. And you, I think with the approach before this, you would put a review date on, but it was maybe too far in the future, or by the time you did that, the action may have got sort of diluted, whereas this
Mm-hmm.
is very much in real time. What I do really like about this approach is that, and this is something we also looked at, was that the coordinators were scoring their individual roles in
Mm-hmm.
real time, very close to the actual sort of meeting that would have, or session that would have, that coaching session. So it was very much in real time, so it was very live in that moment, and we really worked on trying to get a time to review as early as practically possible.
Mhm.
And I think that's really made a difference in the accountability in achieving those actual goals and objectives.
I completely get that, because as you say, what we do is either just before the one-to-one or actually in the one-to-one session for 5 minutes, look at all your roles, which might be about 5 or 7, and each one give a score between 1 and 5. So it's a bit like, right now, how am I feeling now? How confident am I feeling my roles? Which one don't I feel I'm quite as strong in as I'd like to be? But then not setting a goal for a month or 2 months or 3 months, but over the next 2 weeks, what am I going to do to improve? And then what I love about it, Ali, is asking you as the coach for support and being really specific about the support that they'd like from you, if indeed they do need any, to be kept accountable. But then it was your turn. So what was it like being coached to do your confirmation practices with your line manager, Hannah?
Yeah, I mean, Hannah and I have got a very good working relationship. But again, I think the confirmation practices enhance the one-to-one sort of experience. And again, re really having accountability for that action, and again, similar to the coordinating in setting those um review dates, and really sticking to that. But what was really, because one of my development goals, even before the confirmation practices, was that I would like to be coached more myself.
Mm-hmm.
So actually getting that was really beneficial. And but one thing that really stuck out was the questions around what is the impact on others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how that drives some emotion in you, um, for things that you really value, and you want to improve. You could, in that moment, really feel that sort of how important that was to you,
Mm-hmm.
because of the
Mm-hmm.
impact on others, as well as the impact on yourself. It was such a powerful question. um
Thank you, because you start off by choosing the role that you want to work on, which is often the one that you've given yourself the lowest score. But then rather than just saying what will it take to increase that score, it's what will the impact on other people be of the score that you've given yourself, about how you're feeling about your role or how confident you are in it. Is there an example that you might be able to give us, Ali, from your confirmation practices or your roles that could bring that to life for people a bit?
yeah, definitely. The one about relationship builder,
Mm-hmm.
um and how I could Im- improve the coordinator's relationship, how I
Mm-hmm.
could have an influence on that,
Mm-hmm.
because there was definitely some frustration there from my perspective, that this is this is a big thing within the organization about linking in with the external environment, and how we can support people with our expertise, but we really need to reach out to that external environment to provide the best support
Mm-hmm.
and build partnerships. And I felt that that was a frustration, but to actually be able to work through that with the confirmation practices, and get a clearer objective on how I could, how I could influence that, and then get that support from Hannah, to follow that up, and how that had gone in review. um it it showed, it brought to the fore how important that was to me,
Mm-hmm.
and how that could be improved in one of the services that I coach, and how that was a frustration. So that was definitely something that stood out, um when undertaking the confirmation practices for myself. Yeah.
Thank you. So one of your roles is about relationship building and supporting other people to do that. And that was one that you gave yourself a lower score on, and worked with Hannah to decide how you wanted to improve it. And as you said, you've got a great relationship with Hannah. She's been supporting you for a while. Confirmation practices is now one part of your one-to-ones with her. So have you noticed any difference in including confirmation practices compared to what you were doing before?
Yeah, I think it is that, you know, it, I mean, the one-to-one is still a time for, um, protected time for me to
Mm.
share things and be open. But I still think that what this has added a dimension to the one-to-one and really focus and on actions that we carry through and we don't lose and for that, it going back to that impact on others, is that it can have a bigger influence for commissioners, for then the support we give to the stroke survivors, so you can see the wider aspect and how that can be shared across the locality. So actually, even though it's a one-to-one, I think this has enhanced it, the fact that I, I can see it having influence wider than just the actions from the one-to-one. So yeah, it's definitely enhanced our sort of general catch up and those objectives that again can maybe be put in as a 3 month objective, but be they're not reviewed as much as what the confirmation practice are. So again, it's that real time aspect, and you almost see the achievement of that as well. So yeah, it's definitely enhanced the
Thank,
one-to-ones.
thank you. And where do you see yourself taking roles and confirmation practices in the future? What are you hoping to do next?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this, Helen, is that we currently also have a quality framework pilot going on in the organisation, and one in our locality in the northeastern Yorkshire is one of the pilot areas, and I can see a direct link between the confirmation practices and that improving quality. Um, I think they dovetail each other. So there's definitely a way we can use confirmation practice continually to improve that quality, and I think it fits in very nicely with that. And also, the, the our people practices department have rolled out a one-to-one perform area on in our intranet, and I think again that links in with this perform sort of one-to-one tool that we've got internally as well. So I think it helps with those processes that are actually in the organization, and also matches our culture, where we're going with the empowerment of the teams and building accountability and trust and transparency. I think it's another tool that enhances all those aspects of where we're trying to move with the organization.
So, what you've been working on here with clarity of roles and confirmation practices and using them in one-to-ones, you think will dovetail with what the organization is already planning and rolling out? Because I wonder whether some people might think, well, is it either confirmation practices or one-to-ones? But what you're doing is integrating both, isn't it? Having some time for confirmation practices and doing the other expectations from the organization about what they'd like to see happening in one-to-ones. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. What I would say is that I think I've with the support that you've given me from coaching, and with just becoming more confident with it, that the process actually is speeded up, but not in a way which is rushing the coordinator
Mm-hmm.
or myself. It's just the fact of we're getting more used to that now. I've done it. I'm sort of going round into the sort of maybe the second round of confirmation practice rules, and someone's picking another rule, so it's
Mm-hmm.
coming round again. I can see that actually being more efficient now, and there's still time to look at other things outside of that. I mean, I must admit it's a balancing act, because I had to work with that with the coordinators, and maybe I've held off with introducing too many new things.
Mm.
But actually, it with it, I think the more confident that we're becoming, the more we can actually see um, that it is benefiting the internal aspect, the other internal tools that are being rolled out. And actually, what I really like is that it's matching the cultural direction and the way we want to work as an organization. As I mentioned about those words about empowering teams, and this is a tool which is not paying lip service to it, but is an actually working, living tool that you can use to match with the culture.
Thank you. And I'm glad you raised the issue about time, because when we started working together and I was coaching you and your colleagues, it was taking us about half an hour, but more recently I've seen it happen in about 20 minutes. And as you say, without any sense of rush, but just getting through it as people feel more confident and understand what the process is.
Yeah.
Ali, thank you. And I'm particularly delighted to hear that you can see the links between moving towards a culture of greater transparency, greater autonomy in teams, people taking responsibility in a different way, but also being able to link it to the expectations of HR and still be part of one-to-ones. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.